Beloved confreres and my dear friends, Shalom. Happy Founders Day. I am really glad to greet you from Tanzania on this day. We as the Franciscan family celebrate our Founders Day. May I begin with this verse from the Holy Gospel. Now Mary arose in those days and went into the hill country with haste to a city of Judah, and entered the house of Zachariah and greeted Elizabeth. Luke 1:39-40. On September 30th, 1862, at the age of 72, our beloved founder, servant of God, Fr Peter Mermier, was called to eternal life. It is 158 years since our founder left this world. Our constitutions and our general directory insist on our obligation of celebrating the Founders' Day in a worthy manner. This celebration should mark our deep love for our founder and for our Franciscan family. On this anniversary day, I am glad to share this message with you, my beloved confreres, and with anyone who looks upon Father Mermier as a role model for the missionaries. I hope this message will enhance our love for our founder and also will help us to imbibe his missionary zeal. I want missions. I am so resolved. This is a definitive and decisive statement from our founder, Father Mermier. The context of this statement was his non-compromising stand on his convictions to look for the lost sheep at a time when his preaching companions were no more willing to be part of his preaching band. It was a time when the MSFS congregation was in the process of being officially launched. After Bishop Joseph Ray assumed the office on 2nd October 1832, Father Mermier and some of his companions went to see him and requested his approval for the new congregation. The bishop asked them to wait so that he could test them and also study their project. Father Mermier was ready to wait, but not his companions. They got discouraged. They had their own apprehensions about the stand of the new bishop, about the permission to start the congregation. Some of them were moved by fear of failure of their new venture. They had uncertainties about the outcome of the mission preaching. Besides, they were impatient. Some of them left the group. Others expressed their desire to leave. In such a tough situation, Father Mermier remained patient, without any outward show of emotion, and spoke with firmness that he wanted to continue the mission. And he said, "I want missions. I am so resolved." What a great challenge it must have been for our founder, Father Mermier. Remember, it was only 6 years later, in 1838, the official approval was given to the congregation. It took long 6 years. Father Mermier was really patient. Now, before we see how Father Mermier addressed this challenge, we need to know what exactly he meant when he stated, "I want missions." I have a question. Do we really understand our name? I mean, the name of our congregation, Missionaries of St. Francis de Sales. When we call ourselves missionaries, we need to understand our own name with the implications given by our founder. Insofar as the ordinary meaning of the term mission is concerned, every person is a missionary because everyone has some mission to accomplish in one's life. But from the Christian point of view, the term mission has 3 basic implications. The first one, the primary evangelization. This means bringing the good news to those who do not know Christ. We can call it also the mission overseas or the foreign missions. It implies going to a territory or a community where Christ is not known at all. Second, pastoral work. This is addressing the ordinary pastoral needs of a group of faithful by administering the sacraments and organizing the various religious events. It is done often within the structure of a parish and the local church. And the third one is parish mission preaching. This is working towards the renewal of Christian faiths through intensive interactions with the people by way of preaching, visits, administration of the sacraments, and facilitating the rejuvenation of faith. My beloved confreres, dear friends, let us see how these 3 aspects are incorporated into our apostolate of mission. Here we need to make a distinction among these 3 aspects. The primary evangelization was done mostly by the missionaries who went to a foreign land and introduced the new faith and the new religion. This is often referred to as the mandate given by Jesus. Go, preach and baptize. Confirm Matthew 28, 19-20. People who were engaged in such and similar activities were usually called missionaries in our ordinary parlance. They spent most of their years away from their homeland. Many religious men and women, secular clerics, as well as laypersons, work as missionaries in this sense. Along with preaching the good news, they also engage themselves in other works or apostolates that are relevant to the time and the place. Now the second part of it. When the works of primary evangelization began to bear fruit, it necessitated pastoral works. Hence, the missionaries began to assume the role of pastors. Parish structures were established and the missionaries became pastors. Now the third phase. In the course of time, there emerged the need for intensive and radical renewal of faith and re-evangelization. The plant of faith was being choked by words of secularism and materialism. This situation had to be addressed, and this is beyond the scope of mere pastoral works. This was the main task that was intended by our founder, Father Mermier, in the then context of the church, which was limping and staggering. Thus, this third implication was the key purpose for which Father Mermier was organizing the mission bands. Hence, by being members of the MSFS family, we have the obligation to be missionaries as envisioned by our founder. Over the years, I am afraid we have not paid due attention to this obligation. Of course, we have several renowned preachers, preaching centers, retreat centers, etc. However, this mission preaching has not become a distinct feature of our congregation. It has to become an MSFS culture. It has to become our way of life. The way in which Father Mermier responded to this situation of challenge is really edifying and inspiring. According to me, there are three key factors that motivated Father Mermier to go ahead with this challenge. 1. Faith in God. Mermier grew up in circumstances where faith in God was challenged. But his family set for him an example of deep trust in God. As we know, faith has real depth wherever and whenever the believers experienced persecution. Second element, passion for the mission, for the Mother Church. Passion for the Mother Church. Throughout his life, he came across situations in which the Catholic faith was despised and ridiculed. He knew how much he was deeply convinced of the stand of the Catholic Church. And the third element is heartfelt compassion for the people of God. Father Mermier had it. The mother of Father Mermier was an inspiration to him. He was genuinely sensitive to the situations of the needs of others. So, dear friends, faith in God, passion for the Mother Church, and compassion for the people of God. These three elements are the basic requirements for a Fr Salian, or anyone for that matter, to preach the missions oriented towards the renewal and rejuvenation of faith. Today, if we find ourselves not in the way as our holy founder would have expected us, we need not look for the diagnosis elsewhere. We only need to check and see if we have those three qualities that motivated Mermier to preach the missions. They are deep faith in God, passion for the Mother Church, and heartfelt compassion for the people of God. If a person lacks any of these, one cannot be a true missionary according to the mind of Father Peter Mermier. Now, I would like to focus on the last element in this, that is, heartfelt compassion for the people of God. We see in the letter of St. Paul to the Colossians, chapter 3, verse 12. Therefore, as God's chosen people, as God's holy ones, and as God's beloved ones, clothe yourself with heartfelt compassion, kindness, humility, gentleness, and patience. In this list of virtues, we see compassion as the first one. Compassion is a force within me to feel for the needy situation of the other and motivates me to act. Before the multiplication of bread, we read that Jesus had compassion for the crowd. Confer Matthew 9:36. Jesus had compassion for the crowd. The real starting point of the miracle of multiplication of bread was neither the hunger of the people, nor the lack of food or the presence of bread. It was compassion. For various reasons, Jesus had compassion for the people. Fr Mermier felt that his own people were getting lost. He felt the pain for their unholy ways of life, lack of faith. He was convinced that he needed to act to bring to their notice their wrongdoings and to persuade them in love to live a life of true faith and true holiness. Bishop Joseph Ray, while approving the congregation in 1838, besides other orientations he gave, he asked the missionaries to make the missionary method of St. Francis de Sales their own, that is, method full of compassion for sinners. Now I conclude with a word on the missionary zeal, the quality of zeal that we need. It was the virtue of zeal that impelled Fr Mermier to state, I want missions. I am so resolved. Here we find the virtue of real missionary zeal in Fr Mermier. At the time of giving the canonical approval for our congregation, Monsignor Ray cited and emphasized the word zeal. The zeal was a special characteristic of St. Francis de Sales. Francis de Sales, the Apostle of Chablis, was a zealous missionary because his heart was overflowing with God's love, and he had said to himself, zeal is nothing but the order of love. Zeal is nothing but the order of love. As missionary of St. Francis de Sales, I should be someone whose heart is entirely filled with God's love, after the example of the heart of St. Francis de Sales. Fr Mermier had this zeal. As Franciscans, we learn from our founder that zeal which burns in our hearts calls for renouncement and a spirit of generosity, and this urges us to go ahead with true missionary activities. May God bless us with the same spirit and the same missionary zeal of our founder. May we have the missionary zeal of Mother Mary, who bearing Jesus went to greet Elizabeth. May Mother of Compassion intercede for us. May Francis de Sales intercede for us. May our patron intercede for us. May God bless this world. May God bless the church and our congregation. May God bless each one of you. Thank you for listening to me. Thank you so much. Asante sana.